Okay, to Western Africa. Tommy Garnett.
That was quick.
That is quick, yeah. You know, there's all kind of magic in this room. And you're one of them. You're Director of Environmental Foundation for Africa, Regional Vice Chair for the IUCN Commission on Education and Communication, one of the co-organizers of this roundtable. Could you say in a few words, how climate change impacts your part of Africa, and what are the consequences for the security and the prevention of conflicts of that climatic impact in Western Africa? You have, okay.
Yeah, thank you. That's a tall order to say in a very few words.
But you were scripted too, huh?
I'll try. And again, like the ambassador, this was not a question I was expecting.
Oh.
It's a very tough one. For starters, climate change is a relatively new concept for the part of the world that I come from. We only started to talk seriously about climate change in the last year or two. Before that, we've been talking about just the traditional environmental problems that we're grappling with, in addition to, as the previous speaker from CNA quite eloquently outlined, the demographic problems, the multiplier effect concept the threat multiplier effect concept he was talking about, because we're dealing with a whole range of issues related to bad governance, to extreme poverty, to disease, to food insecurity, and all of these challenges. And now, on top of it all, just when we're beginning to make inroads into addressing the poverty reduction strategies and dealing with the effects of debilitating conflicts, and then we start to talk about climate change, everybody is confused. So what I can say for a fact is that the few of us who have been observing this for some time realize that there are quite a few changes that we cannot explain. Coastal cities, we're seeing a lot of coastal erosion. We're seeing in the last year, I saw clearly that hundreds of thousands of acres of forest were cleared for subsistence farming, but the rainfall pattern was so erratic that many farmers could not burn the land, and so they could not plant rice for the season. Forest loss, no rice grown, a lot of hungry people at the end of the year. They cannot explain this. This kind of things haven't happened in their own history. But we cannot say for sure whether it is climate change. Our governments are trying to understand what this means, but they don't have too much time because they are dealing with the aftermath of the conflict, which has created so much poverty, and there's a youth crisis, which is over 65% of the population, for example, in Sierra Leone, are people under 35 years of age. Many of them have fought in conflict from the age of 8, 9, and now they have to find a living. So it is kind of really difficult, but what I would like to say is just one thing, that I think that more attention needs to be given to educating people, people in the decision-making, especially in the policy-making areas, in the decision-making areas, to understand about the science of climate change and how this is going to impact on peace and security, because we're putting so much effort on building peace, spending a lot of resources on peacekeeping missions, but how can we really invest in a focused way on building the kind of peace that we want to see, where we can feel more comfortable to begin to adapt to the impacts of climate change?
Could you say, without maybe having all the scientific proof about the relation between climate change and the problems you are describing, that there is more migration, one of the issues which was addressed by...
but this has been happening forever. I mean, 15 years ago when conflict started, you had internal displacement in Sierra Leone, in Liberia. Hundreds of thousands of people were displaced. In the region, we're talking about millions. And in fact, on the one hand, the conflict did lead to a sort of a break in forest destruction, but the creation of refugees and the environmental destruction, clearing hundreds of acres of forest to create refugee camps, kind of offset the balance. So we have seen these migrations, and we have seen the problems related to, this massive influx of people in the fragile ecosystems. What we have not seen yet is people beginning to move because areas are becoming unproductive, at least in the tropical forest zone. But when we talk about the Sahelian parts of the region, I think you can begin to expect that sooner or later we'll be hearing more and more about this.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, I will be back to you about the role of international cooperation in the situation you are describing. So, but I'll pose that question.